Hello and good evening. I am Alphonso McGriff III, and this is Alphonso Speaks. This is the platform we use to share information about the Conscious Conversation experience, which is a collaboration and movement that chooses love and enlightenment. It's a collaboration because we come together. It's a movement because it's more than one of us and we have some things in common. And when we say we choose love, choosing love is not about the idea of choosing traditional love. Choosing love is choosing self. It means that I have to first have self-respect, self-love, and self-responsibility before I can engage in any form of love with anybody else. So we choose love and enlightenment, which means that, as we interact and share information with the desire to understand, it's only natural that we'll become enlightened because of the experience. So that's what it's about. What is a conscious conversation? A conscious conversation is a verbal interaction where we speak with the desire to understand, we ask questions, and we share information. We take responsibility for our thoughts, words, and actions, and control our prejudices and emotions, which, if left unchecked, will disrupt the goal of having a conscious conversation. The strength of a conscious conversation is its ability to inspire rather than manipulate. Inspire. We're interested in inspiring people rather than manipulating people. That means bringing understanding rather than manipulating people into certain beliefs and thought processes. Ultimately, the conscious conversation experience is a pathway to understanding, resolution, and enlightenment. So, um, so that's what a conscious conversation is. And when we're talking about a conscious conversation, if there is no desire to understand, there can be no conscious conversation. At the root of all conscious conversations is the desire to understand. So that must be a part of it at all times. If we lose the desire to understand, we have lost having a conscious conversation experience. And there's a warning that I always share. And that warning is I've learned that developing myself can lead to unnecessary challenges and insecure people who are intimidated by those who have a sense of self. It is not our problem, but it is one of the consequences and challenges associated with our personal growth. So we have to keep that in mind as we take on the challenge of improving the quality of who we are. We have to recognize. We have to recognize that when we get out here in these streets with people who are insecure, then a lot of times that creates situations where we become the enemy of those people. So we have to be aware of what's going on around us at all times, because you just never know what kind of effect you're having on people around you. And that's just the truth. So, um, again, we just have to keep that in mind. Tonight, one of the thoughts that I'm willing to have a conscious conversation about. Many of us have acquired struggle as our definition of life and have adopted reasons to struggle as our life purpose. Now, for those of us, ultimately, those of us who feel that uh, the struggle is necessary, more power to you. But I am not interested in joining a struggle. If somebody comes to me about the struggle, I'm going to turn and run in the opposite direction as fast as I possibly can. I was born to live. I wasn't born to struggle. And when we're always looking for reasons to be a part of the struggle, for me, it's just so non-productive, and life is so big and we're missing out on life when we're constantly looking for reasons to be a part of the struggle. That's not sexy. We have to I just believe we have to participate in the growth process. And life is so big. Life is so huge. Life is so much bigger than all of these things that we distract ourselves with, that we just miss out on life because we hang around these little small spaces and small-minded things. So, no, I don't want to be a part of the struggle. I and I don't want to be every day looking for reasons to be angry, because you can find reasons to be angry so easy in this society and setup. Like the young boy who was found unalive recently. There are so many people who are angry, and there are videos being shared, and people are very angry about that situation. And I understand why people are angry about that situation. But anger is so easy to find. In this setup, anger is easy to find. If we're looking for reasons to be angry every day, then we guarantee that we will be angry every day. And after a while, adrenaline becomes a fix. And when we have that anger in us and we start producing that adrenaline, we get addicted to it. And we need to have that burst of adrenaline at some point. And anger satisfies the need for an adrenaline kick. Every single time, anger satisfies that need. So we really have to be aware when we find ourselves looking for a reason to be angry every day and ways to participate in the struggle. We we were raised on the struggle, and we were told that we have to be a part of the struggle. And in the year 2026, there are people who are still looking for folks to join the struggle. No, I'm not participating in the struggle. I'm more interested in participating in life. And for everybody who was looking for a reason to be angry, woo, they found one now. They found one now. That young guy who went on a trip on a boat with some of his friends and turned up unalived. If you need a reason to be angry, just go research that story. And that is satisfying a lot of people who need an adrenaline kick, because that's what anger will give you. Now, one might say, well, Alfonso, why aren't you angry? And this is might sound cold, and it might sound um, cold and like a lack of compassion, but that's really not the case. I'm a person who's interested as much as possible in dealing with reality. And this is a jungle. I look at wherever we live in the United States or in the world, we are all in the jungle, because that helps bring things into reality for me. And so, what I mean by that is the jungle is not fair. And there are going to be some things that happen in the jungle because of our lack of knowledge of the jungle. And then there are going to be some things that happen in this jungle because we're human beings and we are capable of doing some ugly things to each other. And that's a part of this existence, and that's a part of this setup. Human beings doing ugly things to each other, really ugly things. And as impossible as it might seem, as much as it might seem like an uphill battle, I have chosen to focus on talking about ways that we can not have to be in conflict and not be angry about everything and not be looking for reasons to be upset every day and not be getting in fights and arguments with friends and family and others so quick to be ready to fight. I have chosen to focus on that side. And based on what I see on a daily basis, I can understand why it might seem like an impossible task. But I feel like this is what I was called to do. So that's what I'm doing. And like I said yesterday, for people that's not about this life of love and enlightenment and staying out of conflict and confrontations, then it's okay. You don't have to participate. But this is what I'm sharing and this is what I'm about. So, like I said, it might seem cold to me. And like I talked about the jungle. In the jungle, some horrible things can happen. And we still got to keep living. You know, if my little cousin gets snatched up by a gorilla or a lion, I can't stop living. Especially when I know this can happen in the jungle at any time. The same would here in America. There are things that happen here, and we keep being shocked and amazed at these things happening over and over and over again. And we keep saying, see, look what they did, over and over and over again. How many times do we have to see say, see, look what they did, before we believe what they're capable of. Whoever is being violent. But how often does a lion have to kill its prey before we accept the fact that that's just what lions do? Now, since I know lions like raw meat and they will kill you, it's my responsibility to have a plan so that I can deal with the presence of lions. And that plan must include what to do if I encounter a lion. I have to have a plan for that. Or I'm going to walk around willy-nilly getting hurt and maybe even taken off the planet. So that young man who, anybody who's looking for a reason to be upset, that's your spot. I'm not upset because I'm not surprised by the behavior of the people he was with. I'm not surprised by the behavior of the people he was with. I'm not surprised by the behavior of the town representing the people he was with. I'm not surprised by the behavior of the parents of the people he was with. I'm not surprised by any of that. And it's not cool when we end up dying in such a fashion. But how many times does something like this have to happen before we just recognize this is a society where things like that happen? Well, Alfonso, you saying it like that, but if something like that happened to you, then what? I have to deal with it the best way I can. And if I'm out of here, then I don't even have to do that. If somebody were to finish me off in that way. However, I believe that a lot of situations we find ourselves in are related to the decisions we make. And the decisions we make present the reality that we are in before us. And so what I can control is the decisions that I make. So I try to make decisions that don't put me in jacked up situations and decrease the likelihood of me finding myself in a dire situation. And I say that and I laugh because, I'm dealing with a situation now, and I don't believe my decisions put me in this situation, but I believe that because of the discomfort that sometimes people find themselves in my presence, or people's insecurities, they do things to make you uncomfortable. Sometimes they do things to hurt you or even take you off the planet. Insecure people are like Russian roulette. Once they get that feeling around you, you have no idea what they're capable of doing. So, I talk about these things and I smile, and I am dealing with situations myself. But I have to take each day one at a time and examine it, to look at the decisions I made, to try to recognize that any decisions that I made that could have helped put me in this position, and deal with it and keep it moving. But we never know what this setup has in store for us. And the best way to be prepared is to just keep making the best possible decisions we can. because we can't control other people and we can't control the insecurities. And like I said earlier tonight, when you begin to develop a sense of self, insecure people will start coming for you. That's why you got to choose the kind of people you're going to be around. When you choose to grow and you choose to evolve and you choose to make better decisions and you choose to participate in life affirming behavior, that is behavior that contributes to improving the quality of who you are, there are insecure people that will come for you. And some insecure people have come for me. And it's just real. And it's part of life. And we gotta figure out how to deal with it. We have to come up with a plan to deal with it. So tonight, I talked about how many of us have acquired struggle as our definition of life and adopted reasons to struggle as our life purpose. And I don't think that, I think that life is too big for us to squeeze ourselves up in that little box. The question I have for tonight is, that I ask every night is, what way do I make decisions that hurt me? In what ways do I make decisions that hurt me? And I say that because I think we have to ask ourselves that every day. In what ways do I make decisions that hurt me? And I think if we think about that and really think about that question, we can start eliminating some things that we do. In what ways do I make decisions that hurt me? It's a good question. Now, one of the things that I used to do, and I'm sure a lot of us still do it, is whatever happened to me, I'll always make it more about them than me. You know, at one time it was if they hadn't enslaved us, and it was always them, 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 them. When I find myself in situations, if he hadn't done this or she hadn't done that, it's all because they did this. And you hear people, you talk to people, you listen to them, and even their conversation is always about the other person. And you can try to bring it back to them, and it's amazing how they will bring it back to the other people. You can say, hey, how did you get frostbite? Well, so and so had me up on the mountains, and then we got so far, and then it was so cold we didn't have no way to warm our feet up. Well, how come you didn't have a way to warm your feet up? Well, because they didn't bring the heaters that we're supposed to have, those heating pads that we can put in our shoes. Well, and if you ask them, well, why didn't you make sure you had heating pads? Then they get offended. Oh, so you make a mockery of my frostbitten toes? No, I'm just saying, you keep saying they didn't make sure you had a heating pad and they had you up on the mountain and it was too cold and you didn't have the proper boots on. And what about you? What decisions did you make that put you in that position? People get offended or they get real intelligent. Oh, now you're victimizing the victim. I'm the victim of the frostbite, and now you're trying to victimize me. No, I'm asking you, could you have asked some questions when you were going up on that mountain and it was that cold? Could you have asked somebody, do I have the right kind of footwear? Could you have asked somebody, do we have heating pads for boots? Could you have done anything to help you protect yourself? You start asking those kind of questions, people will write you off forever. You'll end friendships that you've been in people in school and kindergarten together with folks, and now y'all both 50. And you start asking those kind of questions, and they will end the friendship forever. Because you're tactfully hinting at self-responsibility, self-accountability. And let's not even get into the relationships and stuff. Well, if he hadn't, or if she hadn't, it was when she did this, it was when he did this. You hear people always talking about the other person. It's always more about them than me. That is not sexy. And we who are involved in the conscious conversation experience, we be trying to be sexy. And we can't be sexy when we always talking about them and not me. And what I could have been done for myself that could have helped things be better for me. That's not selfish. That's self-respect, self-love, and self-responsibility. So if we make it about them more than we make it about me, then you're guaranteed your life is going to be miserable. And there are so many things we do that guarantee a miserable life. And that's why I go over these things and ask these questions. In what ways do I make decisions that hurt me? And I have to check myself all the time when asking that question. So tonight's question, that's what it was. That's what tonight's question was. Do I make it more about them than me? So tonight, I want to thank you for tuning in. You could be doing anything right now in this very moment, and you chose to give me some time in your life. I do not take it for granted. Whether you are watching live or you watch the video later on, I appreciate you. I love you, and I always will. And I will never give up on our people, ever. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and have a great weekend. Oh, my bad. I just wanted to say, I've been, um, I have been invited to do a poem at the Jazz Festival next Friday night at 9:45. And I'm going to do a poem that's I wrote as a tribute to Black women. It's called For You There Are No Words. So next Friday at 9:45, I will be doing a poem at the Jazz Festival. It's actually my favorite poem, and I really enjoy doing it because I really have a certain place in my being for Black women, and it's a tribute to Black women. So if you happen to be at the Jazz Festival next Friday, which takes place next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 17th, 18th, and 19th, I'll be there Friday night at 10:45 doing my poetry thing before the headliner for the night comes on. I come on right before the headliner, so it's real cool. I'm looking forward to that. And I also will remind you from this day forward and every day that on August 1st, on Saturday, August 1st, we will have the Taste of the Caribbean Arts and Culture Inc. will present us with the. I'm just so ghetto right now. um, the Caribbean Jerk Fest, Saturday, August 1st. Saturday, August 1st. Caribbean Jerk Fest, the Taste of the Caribbean Arts and Culture, Connecticut Inc. presents the Caribbean Jerk Fest, Saturday, August 1st, 2026. Save the date, make sure you can get out there. And I'll probably say something about it next Friday when I'm on the stage sharing the poem, For You There Are No Words, a tribute to Black women, at 9:45 p.m., just before the headlining act comes on. So I'll leave you on that note. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And don't forget, next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, downtown Hartford at the Bushnell Jazz Festival. Friday night, 9:45, I'll be doing a poem that's a tribute to Black women just before the headliner comes on. And then Saturday, August 1st, the Caribbean Jerk Fest, presented by the Taste of the Caribbean Arts and Culture, Connecticut Incorporated, August 1st. It'll be on and popping, and I'll be there as well. So you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. And again, I thank you for hanging out with me, and I don't take you for granted. And I absolutely love you. And when it comes to the conscious conversation experience, don't forget, we're trying to be sexy. It's okay to choose love. It's okay to be enlightened. It's okay to seek resolution and understanding. And it's also okay to be sexy.